The show starts in 1 minute.
Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater. And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to episode 87 of Saturday Matinee Theatre, brought to you by your friends at the LONGBOX CRUSADE. We are here in Casa de Vega in our recording studio set up in one of the many unused rooms in the Vega home. I am your host, Jared Albrecht, the Yard Sale Artist. Joining me, as always, is the Philip to my James, is Pat Sampson, a.k.a. DJ Cristados. How are we feeling today, loyal friend Cristados?
Well, Jared, I am doing all right. It's great to be back here at Casa de Vega. We're here, me and Dave. Dave's checking on the come down on a taco stand we got going on. So stick around, folks, till the end of the show, and I'll tell you what specials we have going on for this week while we're here in Casa de Vega. And you can come on down and crunch on those come on down tacos.
Those are good.
Mm-hmm.
Also joining me is our enthusiastic butler, Ronaldo, my brother, Jason the Weasel Skull Albrecht. And how are you today, Jason?
I'm doing okay. Just enjoying a Pepsi after having to clean up after all you guys tracking in with these explosions and the soot and everything. And you'd be fighting and blood everywhere. It's hard cleaning up after Zorro.
It is. Got to have that refreshing Pepsi. And we don't have our friend, the evil land baron, J.A. Marsden, a.k.a. Delvin the Dark Web Williams, with us this evening. Apparently there was some sort of mariachi concert that he decided to go to, so we hope he is having fun at that.
We'll welcome him back with arms wide open when he returns.
That's right. That's right. So it's just the three of us tonight. And with that, Pat, just in case this is someone's first episode, first of all, welcome to that person. And second of all, give them the rundown, Pat.
Well, Jared, I am glad you asked. Saturday Matinee Theatre is a retro review show brought to you by the LONGBOX CRUSADE, where we'll be taking you back to the past with some potentially overlooked retro awesomeness in the realm of television, movie serials, or films. Basically, if it's vintage and it's kind of forgotten, we're going to dig it up. On this episode, we'll continue our dive into 1937's Zorro serial, Zorro Rides Again. 1937's Zorro serial was produced by Saul C. Siegel. It starred John Carroll as Zorro, Helen Christian as Joyce, Reed Howells as Philip, Duncan Ronaldo as Ronaldo, Noah Beery as J.A. Marsden, and Richard Alexander as El Lobo. So grab your 6-shooters, foil your whip, and ride into adventure. But don't forget to tune into the right radio frequency.
All right. Now, before we hand it over to Jason, actually, for this episode's info, let's take a look, or in this case, a listen to a commercial that had been playing at the time this episode was released back in 1937. So help us get in the right time frame of mind, if you will, and transport us back to the 30s. For this episode's commercial retro rewind, we have a Pepsi commercial. It's an animated Pepsi commercial, so I highly encourage you to actually go watch this one, because the sound you're going to hear is pretty much just the jingle. But you're going to want to watch this animated Pepsi commercial. If you go to YouTube and type Pepsi 1930s animated advertisement, you will find it. Let's give it a listen, Pat.
Well, Jared, you can also go into the description of the podcast post or YouTube post, and the link will be there as well.
Oh, I didn't want to paint you into a corner, but that's fancy, Pat.
I always do it.
Well, let's give it a listen.
All the access.
Nickel, nickel, do-do-la-da-da. Nickel, nickel, do-do-la-da-da. Pepsi Cola hits the spot. 12 full ounces, that's a lot. Twice as much, just a nickel to Pepsi Cola is a drink for you. Nickel, 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 Pepsi Cola is a drink for you. as much as a nickel to Pepsi-Cola is a drink for you. Nickel, 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 trickle, trickle, nickel, go. Pepsi-Cola is a drink for you.
All right, what did you guys think of this one? We will start with Jason.
I'm going to say I like this type of animation. There's something really cool about it in this age of computer animation and everything. To go back and see this hand-drawn stuff looks really cool. And it's a fun commercial. Those cops, they rescue those ladies and they get in the, they get some just rewards there at the end, if you know what I'm saying. I think, even back then, people love a man in uniform.
Too true. What about you, Pat?
Well, on a side note, no one paints Pat into a corner.
Okay.
Just saying. This was a good and fun commercial. What it reminds me of is like being at a old drive-in movie theater, maybe, or like really, really old TV commercial. I guess that's what it is. But I just felt that really fun vibe of being at a drive-in theater, watching this commercial come up, and you can, that jingling, nickel, 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 nickel,
nickel, man, nickels for Pepsi.
Yeah, I know. Oh, and seeing those cops, it's like I've seen these guys before, and somehow now I am associating it with like Pepsi. So these guys must have been somewhat of a mascot for them for a little bit, or something else. But these two cops look familiar, at least their shapes and their lookabouts of them. But it was a fun commercial.
Called in to bust up that Rice Krispie ring that commercial that we saw.
That could have been it too. Yeah, definitely. Ooh, could you imagine mixing your Rice Krispies with Pepsi?
That's maybe weird.
Might be something.
Anyway. Going to the dentist. Then you're getting diabetes.
But yeah, I liked it. I thought the drawings was really cool and just fun.
Two amusing things leapt out to me about it. One was how like graphically different the cop dudes were from the ladies. The ladies were like more like a Betty and Veronica style. And the cop guys were like they were not in the same style. They were like a weirder,
oddly.
Like, they didn't match, which was bizarre. But my other favorite thing was it was very much like Frosty the Snowman at the beginning. The cops made the snowman and he came to life. And then those two girls immediately murdered said snowman with the sled. And then they used his body to save the two girls.
Poor Frosty.
Poor Frosty.
Cocoa Frosty.
But yeah, it was a fun little commercial. And nickel was a nickel.
Yeah.
Pepsi. And I noticed the Pepsi logo they went through some different color phases. This was the red and white phase, which does plan it pretty nicely in the 30s. Because I think it was
with the cursive writing too.
Shortly thereafter, they changed their corporate color to yellow, which is why to this day you can still find some yellow Pepsi machines. And then we know it as red, white, and blue, which is a color scheme they adopted during World War II to show patriotism, and it's never left. It's never left since the World War II color scheme change. So there's your quick history on the color scheme changes of Pepsi.
That's interesting.
And now that we're in our 1930s mindset, let's give it to Jason for this episode's info.
All right. Thank you, Jared. This episode was Chapter 3 entitled Juggernaut. It was released, and this is estimated. There's a little bit of records have been lost somewhat to time, but we guess in about October 30th, 1937. Directors were William Whitney and John English. Writers were Frank Adrian, Morgan Cox, Barry Shipman, John Rathmell, and Ronald Davidson. As a reminder, all 12 episodes are available on YouTube. We highly encourage you to watch this episode before proceeding with this podcast, because not only is it just more fun that way, but Jared is about to give a synopsis about this episode, and then we're going to discuss it. It's kind of what we do on the show, so you should know this by now, but just in case you've forgotten. So there are definitely some spoilers heading your way. So again, if you haven't watched this episode, we recommend you pause here, go check it out on YouTube, and then come back to join our discussion. About 17 minutes per episode. It's not a big time demand. For those of you who are watching along with us, we'd love to hear your insights. Don't forget to comment about the show on Twitter or X using hashtag I'm following Zorro. Pat.
Hashtag I'm following Zorro.
That's what I was looking for. Jared.
Hashtag I'm following Zorro.
Oh, and hashtag I'm following Zorro. I can't compete with that. So with that, let's turn it over to Jared for this episode's summary.
When we last saw Zorro, he was knocked unconscious and seemingly blown up by a bomb that El Lobo's gang placed in the supply warehouse. Zorro managed to escape the explosion at the last second by dropping into the basement of the warehouse, and then he manages to escape El Lobo and his gang. Unfortunately, the railroad is still short on supplies due to the explosion, but Zorro has a plan for that too. As James Vega, he pretends to sell out his portion of the railroad to Marsden, who presents James with an offer letter. James does a bit of 1930s hacking and changes the letter to a requisition for supplies, complete with Marsden's signature, thereby tricking Marsden into replacing the very supplies that he had ordered to be destroyed. Additionally, James discovers how Marsden communicates with El Lobo by radio. So before returning to the Zorro cave, he also purchases a radio, which allows him to hear Marsden and El Lobo plan to derail the incoming supply train. Zorro ends up squaring off one-on-one with El Lobo at the track transfer point, and the men have a heck of a fist fight before Zorro's foot gets clamped in the transfer track with the train barreling down on him. Highs, lows, and withers. We will start with Jason.
I'm going to give it a high. I'm really starting to enjoy this. As you remember, I was a bit trepidatious when we first started. Not really sure I like non-sword wielding and more pistol packing Zorro, but this one was good. And I'll focus on that fight. Man, they were going at it. I mean, just hammering the crap out of each other. There were judo throws. There were knee wrench takedowns. I mean, it was seesawing back and forth. That was a good fight.
Yes, it was. And was I the only one that got a little excited when said fight started with Zorro busting out that bull whip?
I know. I got it on my notes here.
Go, Pat, go.
Whip. I'm like, awesome. Yeah. There was a lot of good fights in here. Like Jason said, there was guns, fists, and whips going on, and I loved it.
Yeah, when it started, I was like, it's like, since it was 17 minutes, and there was a lot of recap, and I'm like,
yeah, over 3 minutes of recap. I'm like, man.
Yeah, I don't know, but boy, what original stuff they had in here was good.
Yeah, I would say that was too. Yeah, I liked the beginning, again, where they give you those kind of, I call them like the title cards, where they give you like a brief, this is J.S. Marsden, he's doing this, and here's El Lobo, and here's that. I like that just because I think it helps me because we don't watch these back to back. It's a month or so.
Yeah, it's usually 2 months. Every other month we do this. So, you're like, what happened 2 months?
Yeah, what happened? And in the serial, you would want that because if you're actually back in the day, if you weren't, if it was every weekly, maybe it was every other weekly that you would go to the movie theater and see this particular one. So I liked that. But then all of a sudden it got into the, like Jason said, the recap-y. I'm like, man, you're going to pull a Batman or one of those where it's just like, we've seen this already.
I do want to jump in, though, to say I'm glad they did the recap, because in the recap, when they showed them looking for the bomb the first time, like there was a group looking, that's when they showed the basement, which I had forgotten was there, which is how he got out of the explosion. Yeah,
I suppose you're right. So, and okay, well, did they actually show that in the last issue?
I was wondering. I was like, I wonder if they showed that in episode 2 or not, because I couldn't remember.
Or is that their way of saying, here's how he's going to get out again? And well, let's talk about that real quick too. Just since Devin's not here, I'll take up Devin's turn right here and say a little something else. I liked the trick he did in turning the clock, because I don't think he did that in the other one.
Oh, he did.
He did. Yeah.
Okay. Man,
he absolutely did. That's how he duped the guy with the clock moving it forward.
I like that. That was a cool trick to see him kind of wind up forward a little bit, and next thing you know, the guy's crying.
Then he got hit in the head with the clock.
That's true. But yeah, all in all, it's not a bad one. There were some cool parts, but we'll go on.
Let's let Jason pick it up from there. And Jason, maybe start with how you felt about the escape from the bomb. Did you feel good or bad about that one? And then move on to whatever else you got.
I felt good. I thought that unlike the Batman episodes we watched before, where there wasn't a whole lot of,
It was more of a
it's just
cheesy
like-
escape.
yeah,
This one
like
made
the
sense.
plane. Yeah, the plane crashed, and I just walked away from
He
it.
just walked out.
It made sense. Like, and Zorro was like, "Oh crap, what do I do?" And I thought it was really clever. He jumps into the basement, and even in the basement now, like, he's getting hammered with all the stuff falling on him and everything. So there was still a price to pay. Then he had to fight his way out, and I thought that's really cool. And it was also kind of cool because the El Lobo kind of won, in that, at least that round for that moment. So you're kind of getting a sense that there's a back and forth, kind of like that chess element that, if, again, comparing it to the Batman one with DACA, it's like, Lobo and Marston are, they're in a game of wits and a physical match for Zorro. So I liked it. I thought that escape was well done.
I want to kind of play off of that with later on when we find out where they're setting up the trap for the second supply train coming in. I got to hand it to these bad guys, Lobo and his gang. They at least test the theory out, right? They bring this little go-karty kind of a train track
like
thing.
a thorough test.
Yeah,
so that we, the audience, know exactly what the plan is.
Yeah. And they tested it and it worked. I'm like, you know what? Good for you. You tested it. It wasn't just one of those things.
Right.
Drew us up
Scientific method.
Yeah. Like, way to go, bad guys.
Then he was like, hey, y'all go hide out in the hills while we do this. They must have hit really good because not a damn one of them helped Lobo in that fist fight against him. Or they were like, we don't want any of that smoke.
Yeah, we don't want
any of Lobo handle it.
That's Zorro. He shot 3 guys or 2 guys riding horseback, and they had like 15, 20 guys follow him on horseback. He shot at least 2
That's right.
of them.
He plunked a couple of them.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that's pretty good.
You know what? Let's throw it to Jason one more time, like I said, since Delvin's not here. I'm interested in Jason's thoughts, and you can go rogue if you want, Jason, but we haven't talked a lot about the things that James did, which I thought were pretty clever, and I was wondering if you'd like to run with that.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my high. I thought that it's really cool to see the physical exploits of Zorro and also the mental acumen and the strategy of James. He just walked right into the lion's den, basically frauded the guy right there, right? Like, yes. And I don't know if that was like invisible ink, like the kind you used to get out of the comic books back in the day or whatever that was. But at the end of the day, he walks away and he basically has Marston's signature. So, he could type anything he wants on it. So it was a really clever way for Zorro that we saw Zorro physically escape the bomb. And then we saw their company reclaim the supplies that they lost through the exploits of Marston and his strategy. And I thought that was really clever. I like that.
Do you think Marsden knows it was James that got the
I think
memo?
he's going to start suspecting, maybe? I don't know.
Because he didn't. Yeah, because like someone got a piece of my stationery.
Yeah, the beauty part of it is like Marsden's empire is so large that James was able to like, it's going to take him a while to figure out who screwed him.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. I'm like, obviously he's going to find out. Well, you didn't buy any part of this company because
I just loved it. Like he blew up the supplies. That's like a big win for us. And he tricked him into shipping supplies right back to him. That was great. And he picked up on the radio. He saw him chat with Little Lobo and he's like, oh, I can get me a radio.
Yeah, I like how he kind of heard is that a radio or is that something going on in the background?
A lot of good intel and a lot of good action from James. But meanwhile, we still haven't, I don't think, fully discovered whether they're brother and sister or husband and wife. But meanwhile, Philip and Joyce, they still don't like James because they're like, oh, he's just a sellout and he sucks. And
he comes in there dressing all nice, like, well, I don't guess all kind of nice, just kind of, that preppy-ish kind of. It's like a preppy look for way back then.
Oh, he's Bruce Wayne in it. Well, before Bruce Wayne, And I mean, that goes back to the source material. Zorro predates Batman and Kane and Finger got a lot of stuff from Zorro, including the aloof playboy. Like, oh, I don't like to sweat. I don't like to,
like,
meanwhile,
like shirt for silk and.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's a tough cat. So, any last hitters here, fellas? Sounds like we're all enjoying this one. Any other observations you want to throw out there?
Well, let's talk about the cliffhanger here.
Good idea, Pat. I like the effect of the front projection, I guess it would be, instead of rear projection.
Yeah. Is he going to get hit? It almost looks like it kind of hits him.
Oh, they want you to believe he got smacked by it.
You know? I was like, what?
Because I was the same. I was like, oh.
I was like, whoa.
I'm coming out of that boot. That's all I'm saying. I'm getting my foot out of that boot.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Well, what do you think his escape plan is? Like, dude, just pull your foot out. You know, you got some slipper or a sock on or something. You got to have some fancy silk socks on or something.
I'm thinking he's coming out of that boot. That's my bet.
Leave the boot and yeah.
But I have to give it up to the 1937 special effects of the front projection, because I legitimately kind of was, I mean, I knew it was front projection, but it was done really well.
And we had a lot of good environment scenes, horse chasing that was going on, and the external, scenes of the plains and just the hills and the areas of where they were filming and all that. I thought it was really cool. They threw a lot in this one, not only with the action, but with the chasing going on.
They really did pack in the 17 minutes. And like you said, 3 of it was like recap. This one didn't feel padded.
Everything that was new was interesting. Like, that fight, aside from just being those two guys going at it, there was that tension because they're fighting to try to get the one guy's El Lobo's trying to derail the train and hit the switch so it goes to the other train, and Zorro's trying to hit the switch so the train is safe. It kind of reminded me of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom with Willie Scott on the altar and in that cage, and the cage going down in the lava.
It's funny because it reminded me of GoldenEye, how I was trying to keep up with the clicks of the pen, and GoldenEye was trying to keep up with who was the last guy to pull the switch on the train. I was that invested. I was like, okay, now he pulled it, so we're safe. Oh, we're not safe anymore because now we're safe again. Like, I was totally going back and forth.
Well, it's interesting that Pat's original point about the cliffhanger. Like, even if Zorro gets off that track, is that train going to be able to stop in time if it's
not heading in the right direction? I don't think so.
The right direction. Yeah.
Is it? That's what I don't know. Is it with the boot being wedged in it?
Stuck in there. I don't know if it's. Yeah. We have to wait till next week.
Or not.
That's a good point.
It's in 1937.
Come on, Mom. I got to go see Zorro.
I legit want to see this one. I do.
I do. I want to see how he's going to get out of this one.
Anything else?
Well, Jarrett, I do have some Zorro fights.
All right. What did Zorro fight besides El Lobo, which he did fight a lot?
Have we seen him fight El Lobo before, or was it
not
just
like fisticuffs? I don't think.
Yeah, maybe just a shoot at me.
Yeah, they've shot at each other. I think El Lobo was in the plane when Zorro shot it down with a single rifle bullet. But this was like straight up man to man.
Well, in the beginning, he fought some crooks, which was that kind of recappy of those two guys. Recaps. He fought Time.
I was going to say, good one, Pat.
He also fought a bomb because he got out of that one. He fights some bad guys chasing him on horseback and gets a few of them.
He does.
He also fights a train track switch back and forth with Lobo. He's kind of fighting that back and forth. And then he fights El Lobo. And I guess he's fighting a stuck shoe.
Yeah. We'll see how it turns out. Thanks for keeping us up on the Zorro fights, Pat.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
I'm going to run us into some fun facts. And for this time around, I'm going to focus on Reed House, who plays Philip. Reed was born in 1900. While attending Harvard, he saved a couple from drowning. He was like a local hero that saved 2 people from drowning off the coast there. And he also served late in World War I. Then he became what was known as an arrow collar model, which is this type of shirt. I think arrow shirts might still be around to this day.
I think they are, yeah.
But he was an arrow collar model, which is how people kind of noticed him because he's very handsome. And he did a lot of early film. In early film, and I discovered this was a thing. There's a thing called race car romance films. And there was this dude named Wallace Reed who starred in a whole bunch of these race car romance films. Like there was just that was a thing. That was a vibe that they would have.
Like Days of Thunder or something?
Yeah, kind of. That's, as I understand it, just like they take the setting of a race car and they'd add a romance. And this dude, Wallace Reed, started a bunch of them. And then as Wallace Reed aged out, Reed Howes here, who plays Philip, was kind of the heir apparent. And he filled in and did a whole bunch more of these race car romance films. So much so that people said that Reed and Wallace looked like each other. So it was like this natural breeze in. So he did a lot of that. And then he passed away in 1964. So that is handsome Reed Howes, the model who is now playing as Zorro's friend. Although I'm not so sure he's happy with James right now, but that's the guy. I'm
curious about the race car
romance films. This is a subgenre I found out. It seems like it was, I didn't dig that deep into it, but I feel like it was sort of getting popular about the same time as these movies. Like it's a 30s thing.
Okay.
And into the 40s. And I think, like I said, this dude, Wallace Reed, was the guy for those. And then our guy here, Reed Howes, takes over. Well, with all that, let's get into the Whip Snap ratings. As a reminder to everybody at home, we have a 1 to 5 scale. 5 whips means you loved it, whipped it good, into shape. 4 means it was very good. 3 means it was good. And 2, it was just okay. And 1, I just really didn't like it. Got a lot of good vibes on this one. I'll start with Pat.
Well, Jarrett, I was kind of at a 3, but as we talked about it, I think it made me, kind of shape it up and get it straight. I'm going to move it forward into 4.
Always go with a 4.
Yep.
All right.
Going with a 4 on this one.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Jason.
It started with that big, long summary, and I got really worried. I was all prepared to give it a 2 or a 3. I'm in it at 5. I loved it.
Woo!
I thought it was great. Awesome resolution of the previous cliffhanger. Great cliffhanger at the end, and in the middle, tons of action. I loved it.
Man, I am stuck between the 4 and the 5 here myself. So I'm going to go with 4.5, and we're just going to move on.
Wait.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh.
You can't give a half a whip.
Okay. I'm going to join Jason on the 5. We're going to be 2 cool guys.
What? What?
5. And here's why. I was liking it. I like Jason. The recap, I was like, oh, this is a long recap. And then it was good. It was good. It was good. And then he busted out that whip, and I was like, oh, yeah. And then the fist fight immediately after the whip busted out was like, oh, yeah. And then that train effect where I actually kind of jolted a little bit. That was a cliffhanger worthy of a 5 to me. We've all talked about it. We can't wait to see. I think we're all banking on coming out of that boot.
Yeah.
But we're going to find out.
I'm still giving you the stink eye.
Because you're not a cool guy this time?
Yeah, I think there was some spite in there. Why don't you throw a little spite in there against Pat?
I don't know about that. We still love you, Pat. I think a 4 is very fair on this one. I just think it had a real good pickup right there at the end.
Yeah. I was definitely like Jason. I'm like, oh, man, this beginning is...
Yeah, I was like, man, this is a lot of recap.
Hit it.
But it ended up being worth it. All right, with all our scores out of the way, let's get into the California Yucatan Railroad mailbag. We are thrilled to kick off these comments with special shout-outs to Crusaders Club members. These are the fine folks who have joined our crusade. They enjoy early access to special Longbox episodes. They get to vote on show content. They get free raffle entries, so much more. These are the folks reaping the benefits and giving some much appreciated support to our show.
Alan W. Wright.
And Helica Wolf.
El Lobo, if you will. Auburn Elvis.
Bill Beer.
Bradley DeLoe.
Braxton Underwood.
Clinton Robinson.
Captain Entropy.
Clark Westfield.
Dave Collins. Battle Wagon.
Eric Hodges.
Eric Porter.
Ezra Gallo.
Gary V.
Gene Hendricks.
Gerald Green.
Heinz K.
Huey Comics.
Jason Keene.
Jason Lady.
Jeff Pollier.
Jeremy L.
Jim Jarman. I hope you like Jim Jarman too. Ay.
Spicy. Jim Meal.
Joe Thomas.
John Watson.
Josh Strickland.
Candace Ward.
Kathy Bright. The MVP and world traveler.
Matt and Lizzie Passo.
Mark Ross.
Maxwell Traver.
Michael Minton.
Miranda W.
P to the D to the Devons.
Rick from Jeff and Rick Present.
We skipped Paul Hicks, or
I did, didn't I? My bad. P to the A to the U to the L to the Hicks.
R to the I to the C to the K, or Jeff and Rick Present.
R to the O to the B to the Morgan.
Samantha Maney.
Sean Urbanski.
Spidey 67.
Spreadsheet.
Steve Cronin.
Kim Price. Come on down.
Tony Pennington.
And Toronto Cop.
If we missed anyone on the list, we apologize. Keep in mind we record these episodes well in advance for release, so if you're a recent edition, we'll be adding you soon. But no worries, you can always let us know we missed you by sending an email to contact@LongBox Crusade. We will get it straightened out. If you're asking yourself, how do I get in on this? How do I become a Crusaders Club member? Just go to patreon.com/LongBox Crusade for as little as $1 a month. You will get access to the amazing world of Crusaders Club. We invite you to come and check it out. If you don't have that $1 a month, we understand. Times can be tough. You can still help us out by writing a review on however you're listening to this, be it YouTube, podcatchers, whatever you're listening to it. Write us a review. Give us a thumbs up. Tell the world you like us, and we'll take it. We appreciate each and every one. Speaking of which, looking at our shares and retweets from last episode, which was Zorro's Chapter 2, The Final Minute, we had 3 people share it. 2 of them are the same guy, but heck, you know what? That's how Saturday Matinee Theatre works. We need you out there, Adam, if you're still listening. Let's give some shout outs. Let's give some shout outs to those people who shared. Jason, go ahead.
Doc Strange.
Coffee and comics.
And Fan Film Fridays. And what makes us even weirder is this is one of our more popular YouTubes. We've had 166 people listen to this episode via YouTube and not one comment. 166 people tuned in. Nobody had anything to say about it.
Well, no news is good news, right?
I guess nobody typed. You guys suck.
Yeah, we want you guys to just type in, make a comment, tell us what you thought. And, we want to kind of start a conversation with you in our comment sections, whether it's on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Let's have a conversation about the show.
Yeah. And you know what? Even if you don't want to do the low time commitment, you're like, I don't want to, they're short, but I don't want to watch 12, serials. Maybe just try one and just let us know kind of what your overall flavor is. That's perfectly fine. We just want to hear from you. And another way you can let us know what you think. If you want to hear your voice right here on the program, you can call us on the phone, old school, 707-532-5269, 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone.
What are you, Charo?
Yeah, Charo.
All right, Jason, save us from Charo.
All right, that's it for this episode of Saturday Matinee Theater. If you'd like to hear more from us in the realm of comic books, action films, and more, check out the Longbox Crusade. Pat, where can they find that?
Well, Jason, I'm glad you asked. You can find us on Spotify, Amazon Audible, pretty much all the podcatchers that are out there. And we're also on YouTube. Go to www.longboxcrusade.com. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Again, at Longbox Crusade. Go find us. Look us up and comment, like, and share us.
Thank you, Pat. And if you want to hear us on our track through all things James Bond, you can check out on Her Majesty's Secret Podcast. Jared, point him in the right direction.
I'll be happy to. I'm so excited. I got someone to do this segment for us. It's not Christopher Walken. It's not Mr. Connery. Yeah. It's Mr. George Lazenby, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wait. Okay. We are recording this on July 24th, where Mr. Lazenby himself has announced via his social media platforms that he's officially retiring. He's doing no more interviews, no more autographs, no more nothing. Just going to be with his family. So I guess it's back to me again. I booked him for this day.
Man,
dang it. Well, we wish you the best.
More like Lazenby, am I right?
I was about to say we wish you the best, but then Jason came in with a volleyball spike. He spiked him. Anyways, back on track. If you want to hear us talk about James Bond, you can check us out at Podbean is where we're headquartered, or catch us on pretty much any other podcatcher out there. We are at OHMS Pod on social medias. That's it. On Her Majesty's Secret Podcast. Just go into however you listen to podcasts, look for On Her Majesty's Secret Podcast. You should find us there. Like I said, we're headquartered out of Podbean, so you can always check out secretpodcast.podbean.com. And once again, on the X at OHMSPod.
Thanks, Jared. If you'd like to chat with us online, we can be found at, and Delvin's not here, but I think he is at DRay1977. Is that right on Twitter, Jared?
I think he's at DEE_RAY1977. I think he has an alternate account, which is at really bad takes /Delvin/runs his mouth.
A lot. .org.
I'm on mute, Delvin. I'm on mute.
Thanks, Jared. Pat.
Well, Jason, I'm glad you asked. And as I promised at the beginning of the show, you can find me and Dave hanging out at Come Down on Them Tacos. With
what's the special? What's the special?
Into that, Jared.
I'm so excited. I'm sorry.
You know what? And I'm glad you asked.
Street corn. Street corn is
good, man.
It is good. And that could be coming up. We'll see. But for right now, as this week, as we're here at Casa del Vega, and as you're listening to this episode, make sure you come on down to Come On Down Tacos, and where we are having a special on caramel apple empanadas.
Oh,
it's caramel apple empanadas. We're bringing them back just for this short time that we're here. Caramel apple empanadas.
And screw you, Taco Bell, for taking those away from me.
Well, you don't come on down to tacos, and they're there for you all the time.
Otherwise, on my way.
Otherwise, you can find me at the Twitter X, whatever it's called nowadays. You can find me there at Christatos01. Jarrett, where can you be found?
I can be found at Yard Sale Artist on X, Facebook, and Instagram. You can check out my artwares at www.theyardsaleartist.com. Or, of course, you can find me at Come Down on Them Tacos, getting them 2-for-1 caramel apple empanadas.
Oh, yeah. The special booth just for you. And you know what? If you come on down to Come On Down Tacos and you see Jarrett sitting in his booth, we'll take a picture with you and him eating some caramel apple empanadas.
That's right. That leaves Jason.
Well, that sounds like a great deal. And you can find me at Jason Albrick on Facebook and Instagram and on Threads. Get your quiver filled with arrows. Get ready to fight against taxation, because our next episode will continue our journey through the 1955 adventures of Robin Hood TV series. We'll see you next episode for episode 10, The Ordeal. The meetup location, Sherwood Forest.
Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater.